because just think about in our personal lives, what we do. I'm just thinking about like how I get desensitized to certain things. I'm not paying attention to it anymore. I haven't honestly had to go apply for a job and look for a job in a long time, but I remember how exhausting that was and filling all the applications out and doing all this and da-da-da-da-da-da. That's why it's funny to me when people like get kind of the big ego and want to hop around, because I'm like, do you know how exhausting it is to have a first day of work and then have to like,
well, they probably get used to it too. And then think about the companies that offer signing bonuses and how that whole thing plays out, you know?
That's
some
true.
people
So
just play that game.
Yeah, that's true. That's exhausting to me. I remember back in those days. You know what I mean? Like, when I come in, I just want to get comfortable. Like, not get comfortable and like
start building relationships and
with the customers, with the employees. Because like I tell our team all the time, we don't talk about being a family, but we talk about being like, we're here every day together. So we really want to like each other.
Absolutely.
Because you spend more time with your team than you do at home. And we recognize that, you know, like, so when there's like bickering and constant negativity, if there is that, like, I'm so thankful. We have a large office. Probably one of the most frustrating things is I think we have 18 people in our office, and 15 of them are women, and everyone's like, oh, is it so catty? And I'm like, disrespect. Yeah. But no, honestly, because we really look for that in every interview. We're looking for who's going to fit the culture, who's going to fit the vibe, if they're going to understand what our mission is for the company. And we're paying attention to those things, but it takes a lot of work. So when people like hop and go, you're like,
it's exhausting, but it's also when you do get that synergy, especially at your, and I'll talk about my husband's company just a little bit, because we placed a director of HR, we placed their director of marketing. And when those two positions started to really fire and they really got the business and they're in it, they're working with the service managers, they're working with the call center manager, they're working with dispatch. Like when all those pieces of the puzzle start to really work together, then you are unstoppable. So you want the people on your team that can help. And it just...
What's your favorite personality assessment?
There's so many. We use Predictive Index internally, which I love. Because I understand it so much, but I've done color code, which I think is funny. So just because I was like, how am I supposed to do this? You have to remember how you were as a kid. It was funny doing it. But I
love the DISC, but I looked at Predictive Index but I love DISC because I'm a very hard D. No, who knew? But whenever I see someone in our company, because we had all the office staff do it, and I can't like believe how much it helped our office staff. I keep looking at Kaylee because she works in our office, but when everyone started like recognizing each other's strengths based off of that, it was like they almost started giving each other a break. Like,
that's awesome.
Oh, I understand her problem right now. Or I understand her, not inability, but her lack of being able to make the decision right now because she's not a decision maker, but I am. And so I'm going to help her. And then, so I think like if you don't do that,
it's in the way they communicate.
Yeah. And so all of them are really like around the same principles of like finding those strengths for people. But if you don't do that with your office staff, that's a huge deal it's been a huge deal for us.
Yeah. Do you guys, you use color code or?
I don't know what we probably use DISC the most. Okay. I have a bias toward all those things because to me, it's like, it's just telling everyone your trauma and how you learned unhealthy ways to cope with life. And so to me, I'm like, can we really even honestly do these? So I joke about it and I know people love it and use them, but we have used DISC on our leadership team.
Yeah. I think when you use it to manage and communicate with each other, and you can use it to hire as well. Yeah. And when you're hiring those leadership roles, it does play a part. But we always say it's a tool in the bucket. It's not the tool.
It's not the tool.
So, I
had a team, two CSRs one time that were getting like really frustrated with each other, and they both had really strong personalities. And I will tell you that I hire strong female personalities. Yep. And sometimes you can put a lot, in one area, and it's like, they're all strong. Well, they were really like getting on each other's nerves. They weren't fighting. They were just getting on each other's nerves. And one day I said, hey, and this was before we did it as a company, but I said, hey, have you done the DISC assessment? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, have you? And she said, yeah. And I said, where are they? And they both were like, at home. I'm like, I want you to bring them to me tomorrow. And when they realized that they were the exact same and what they were getting annoyed with was actually what they do. They were getting annoyed with the behaviors that they do themselves. Right. They were literally like,
that's hilarious.
But it was like, they were just annoyed with each other. But now when they can really put it in perspective of like,
this is why
we and people would need a why. And so they started giving each other a break and acknowledging the strengths that she had, that so did the other one. Yeah. And then they appreciated it more.
That's awesome.
So I think those using it as a tool for those types of things. And then also management too, and hiring though, because we have definitely like made position changes before the DISC that then after we did it, it was like,
I was told I have the most rare form
of what?
Of the DISC. I was I feel like that's an insult. Maybe that's why I don't like.
Do you know your letters? CD. I don't know enough about
something designer.
D's are normally
CD.
The top.
I'm CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like a combo, and it's called something designer.
I don't know.
I did the one where it writes a whole story and about all the people that had it before you that were.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm a DI, I think, but I'm like heavy D. Clear,
that's dominant. But I think there are certain roles in a company that you can say you need a certain personality with. So when you're hiring field staff, it's a little different. But if you're in the office, or if you need
so close together all day.
Marketing has
small spaces.
Yeah, marketing has a specific personality. I think management operations roles have a very specific personality. So there's some merit to it, I would say, but it's also, there's a lot more that goes into an individual versus just the assessment.
So what is the most challenging recruitment task that you've been asked to do, and how did you tackle that?
Oh, there have been so many challenging ones. When you ask that, it's like, I'm just going through the Rolodex of all the ones that have been a huge challenge. But I would say one of them was a company in, I think it was Wisconsin. They needed a master service plumber. And they were they were up on the Canadian border. I think it was Wisconsin, maybe Minnesota, but it was somewhere where basically no one lives there. So we had to find someone to move. We told our client it's going to be like, this is not going to happen overnight. And we were like, we'll do it within 90 days though. So within 3 months, we'll have your person. It was day 90 and he had an offer and accepted. But this guy was moving. He had moved actually to Phoenix he was moving back home. And
what are the chances?
You just had to search.
Oh my gosh. That was a tough one. But across the board, all of them are challenging in a way because
how does the industry make it so challenging?
Just not enough people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you add a licensing requirement onto it, when you add that you're in a rural area, and then you add, anything, or if you're where there's a huge union presence, all of a sudden it's like the trifecta it's much more of a challenge. Immediately,
because and I bet like your challenge too is your client, because immediately for me, I'm like, I can't wait to hire you. And I'm fully intending we're leaving. You're hired. Okay. You're hired.
Thank you.
But
excited.
It's almost kind of like a game for me now, because I'm like, who are you going to find? Because I feel like I've looked at them everywhere. I feel like I've looked, and I know you're going to find them. Okay. I believe in it. I'm feeling it. And I know Leslie's experience, but for me on my side in Tulsa, Oklahoma, knowing that we don't have enough licensed plumbers in Oklahoma, we don't have enough licensed HVAC technicians in Oklahoma, and we struggle on the daily basis. I'm like, girl, where are you going to find these people? Because I've been searching under rocks and everything.
Can't tell you the secret sauce.
I don't know secret sauce. I want you to just do it for me. But so now I'm just excited to see that, because I'm assuming you know exactly what I'm talking about when you see states that have, across the nation, we don't have enough plumbers and HVAC technicians and electricians, but I'm telling you, in Oklahoma, it's a real struggle.
Yes.
There's just not enough. And so it immediately is like, okay.
It's recruiting is just, it's a grind. It's like it's hard work. It's what you guys do every day is hard work, but it's consistency. I just talked with someone last night here in Phoenix that he was poached by a recruiter, and he's like, I told them no 4 times before I said yes. So that's what we have to do. If someone's already employed, then we're reaching out to them. We're calling, we're texting, we're doing it at least 10 times, before we kind of write them off. So you don't have time to do that.
Okay, so this brings up another topic for me, because it's kind of a soft topic, or a hard, an unfortunate spot. Touchy.
Okay.
So in this life, there are people that are going to go work places. Okay.
She knows what you're going to say.
Oh, crap. I want to work with someone
on the record?
Yeah, we're on the record. I'm fine. I'm not going to say anything that bad.
Okay. I can't wait.
You never know what you're going to get.
We're going to set boundaries, right? And I want, and working with you, I'm hoping that you're going to tell me, yes, we want to set boundaries, because I have friends in this industry. And I'm not going after their people.
100%.
I had very recently, we had someone that we considered a friend. It's funny because when we got upset after he recruited someone directly from our company, all of a sudden it was like we were never friends, and it was like, but we were. You know, you're just trying to make yourself feel better now. But I just don't want to play that game. At the end of the day, I think there's enough people and then enough customers for us all, but we want to set boundaries. Now, in that conversation, one thing he said was, weren't you trying to recruit from someone from this company before? And I'm like, absolutely. But I had no relationship with those people.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes that happens, and I know that's going to happen, but I'm assuming intake call set boundaries of
yes. So that's on our new client questionnaire. What companies do you not want us to poach from? And so at that point, we're I
don't even know how you would make that distinction where we live.
It's
if you were to ask me, I would say I don't even know what to tell you.
If you're friends with someone.
If you're friends. Like for me, if she had asked me that question, there was this specific company would have been on that list, though not for this specific company. Now, that respect wasn't two ways.
But when you're putting out your ads,
if they apply,
plumber responds to an ad.
No, that's different because he's responding to the ad. But the difference in this scenario, and this is what I've always said.
Okay,
if you had an ad and they responded to an ad, that's fair game. But if you're actively calling my people,
right,
and saying, "Hey, I want you to apply for this position. That's crossing the line.
That's poaching, and we respect that 100%. So if someone applies to the job and they're on that list, we would call you and say, "Hey, we have someone from X, Y, and Z company. You had asked us not to poach from them. Or do you want us they applied to the job? Are you okay with us calling?"
If they apply, and I've always said that, if my people apply, then they should absolutely go. And it is at that point, in my opinion, free game.
Yeah.
You know, if my people applied, if they responded to an ad online, if they whatever, but if you are actively picking up the phone, knowing that person is employed here and creating, and in this scenario, it was like, well, he wasn't happy there. No, he was until he was offered a different carrot and dangled that you went after, and so that to me is like, first,
are these the people that say you don't pay your part houses?
Yeah. We can go we got all kinds of trauma, all kinds of frustrations, but for the record, on the record, I do pay my supply houses, but it's like, it's funny because when you get called out on something, for doing something, the next thing is like, well, I'll get back at them at this. And it's like, okay. But anyways,
it's hard when we when we onboard someone and they're like, well, this company we're friendly with, this company, and they just named everyone in their entire market.
Yeah.
Then
we're like, okay, we need to have another conversation.
So for us, I can speak to this in this scenario, in this one, and I am Facebook friends with almost every owner or a manager from everyone locally.
Sure.
But are we like friends? Have we gone to dinners together? Have we done these things together? Have we done whatever? No, but are we like, there's one company particularly that is like on the opposite side of like we're in Glenpool on this side of Tulsa and they're on the opposite side. I think I just became Facebook friends with that owner. Never had a conversation with them, but I've never like actively marketed in his city because he's a bigger, like that city we've never actively marketed, and they've never actively marketed in Glenpool. However, their billboards are getting a little closer, so I'm like, should we have that conversation? Or because it is all fair game.
You should just try to hire all the people that you can.
But in that scenario, we're just Facebook friends. Now, if when we have this conversation, there previously were a couple that I would have just been like, no, absolutely not on this one. But it's
you don't want to
interesting
start that war either.
And I think what you experienced is not the norm.
It's really
But
not.
I could be naive to that because I'm listening to this thinking there is never in a million years I'm going to care. Like, I'm not calling their technicians, but I got the marketing skills.
But you don't, as far as the people in Tulsa, in Oklahoma City, you didn't have any like truly friendship that you assumed was a friendship with that owner or whatever, where that's where it was personal for us,
Right.
And then it's funny because then when it all comes to play, it was like, well, we were never friends. We just went on a few trips together with this and this. And it was like, no, we were friends. We considered that.
We were. Thanks.
And you can now tell me that to make yourself feel better, but that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Right.
But I know you looking at all your competitors and even me thinking about mine now, there's no one that I would just like cut, say no now.
Me and Stacy, I'm not going to call her because and maybe this happens in other markets, but like I would never call someone else's. That's just not how it goes. Yours was personal.
But it was personal. But yours, for example, you would, when you're talking, you're going to say, hey, don't contact Stacy's employees.
No, but in our market, there is a revolving door. If they worked at our shop, they worked at 10 others. I can't worry about
100%. And when they apply and they organically came to you, game on. Like
when the owner of the company is reaching out and poaching, it's a little bit
that's
different.
what makes us different.
Shiesty.
Yeah.
I think
when the owner of the company is reaching out, that's when it gets shiesty. That was when it was inappropriate.
Like an Indeed ad or whatever. You know.
And it wasn't like he met him at a I don't know, and had just a random conversation.
And everything that's happened since then.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about your favorite part of what you do.
My favorite part is helping companies grow. And I know when I ask, when we're recruiting recruiters, when we're getting people on our staff, they will say it's getting the candidates that brings me so much joy to get candidates for my clients. And I love recruiting. But the favorite part for me is actually when our clients come to us and say they have goals and they say, we need 3 plumbers by the end of Q3, then we have a goal and we meet the goal and we know we helped them grow. I like the deadline. Yeah. I like knowing we worked with a company that was in the Northeast. We helped them. We didn't know they were going to get acquired. I didn't know that's what their game plan was, but we worked with them for about a year and we helped them reach all those goals. And then we found out that they sold. And so I don't know, just knowing that we helped those owners get to where they wanted to be.
A successful exit and whatever that looks like for the owner.
It's exciting to be part of that. It really
because
does.
Because it's a huge we'll just repeat it. It is a full-time job to keep that line open, to keep the ads, to keep in contact, to have the events. Then you have to talk to them. Like it is not, and I think that's why we get so weak at it because maybe we don't prioritize it until we're in an emergency situation. And that's why it's so helpful because it's really solving a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you do have to overhire. Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. So.
Be prepared to, I think if anything, I've from this and some of the stuff, because my previous things that like my previous jobs have been recruiting and hiring and people management. So it's even though I felt like I knew this, it's like a reminder of always be hiring.
Yep.
Because people are always going to make changes and then overhire and continue to have a plan because that's where we screw up every time is we get a little pat on the back because we got a few people, but we weren't paying attention and we weren't over hiring and we weren't ready for people to have life changes. We had an amazing, one specific story. We thought we had the best team, or we had the best team. And we were so excited about this technician. He was so great and he would never leave, but he had to move back home to California. And that had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
You know? And so when he left, it was like, oh, you know, but we should have been better prepared.
Well, and you can always do that and upgrade, right? Yeah. So you always have some C players. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you're over hiring, you can get rid of your C players. Mm-hmm. And
you have to stay. I mean, and this is the fine line you walk to when you're in charge of making these decisions.
Yes, it's not easy.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's like, do I really want to set up a reoccurring time every week to bring in like an open interview? Because, well, what happens when that rock star comes in? What kind of I'm either going to be buying a truck or I'm going to be letting someone go. And there ain't no trucks to buy. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can find a van. Yeah. But it's emotion.
There's a lot of emotion in hiring and firing and
and on the candidate side too, they get so excited about the position. They get so excited about a job. And so we try and, always put ourselves in the candidate's shoes to be, on both sides, the client, to have everybody's perspective in mind.
And expectations.
Yes.
Clear expectations.
We are so thankful to have you guys as a sponsor for the Power Women of the Trades podcast. And
it makes my heart happy.
It does. And I hope, we'll make sure to have Rita leave all of your connection information in the show notes. Okay. But real quick, what is the website?
It's workwithyourhands.com. You can see my shirt, but workwithyourhands.com.
Yeah.
Workwithyourhands.com. Awesome. Yep. Well, thank you so much.
It'll be tagged in our stuff too.
Okay, cool. Sure. Thank you guys
Thank you so much.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.